Hi, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back to my basement. I'm glad to have you here. I think this must be about the third week that I'm speaking to you from here. And while it's been a good week for my family and for me, I'm going to be totally honest and tell you it's getting a little bit old already. And if it is feeling onerous for us, then I have no doubt that it's feeling even worse, or at least as bad, maybe worse, for you and for your family too. Look, as much as we would like to be getting out there, as much as we would like Temple Beth David to be full, even overflowing on Easter, we've got to keep it real. That is definitely not going to be happening, and for many good reasons. Instead, what I would like to do is to take a moment to share some words of encouragement, words reminding us why we are doing this and of the hope that lies ahead of us. Words which I have found inspiring. They were delivered earlier this week by the President of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. He said in an address to his nation, to my nation, "Staying at home, avoiding public places and cancelling all social activities is the preferred best defense against the virus." While a 21-day nationwide lockdown in South Africa will have a considerable impact on people's livelihoods, on the life of the society, and on the economy, the human cost of delaying this action would be far, far greater. Although we may be limiting physical contact, this epidemic has the potential to bring us closer together. We are responding as a united nation to a common threat. And he continues, "This national emergency demands cooperation, collaboration, and common action. More than that, it requires solidarity, understanding, and compassion. Those who have resources, those who are healthy, need to assist those who are in need and who are vulnerable. This epidemic will pass, but it is up to us to determine how long it will last, how damaging it will be, and how long it will take our economy and our country to recover. It is true that we are facing a grave emergency. But if we act together, if we act now, and if we act decisively, we will overcome it. I thank you." And those were the words of the President of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Okay, let's change gears for a moment. Let's shift our attention. This week we find ourselves in the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, right at the beginning, the first portion of Vayikra. Now that we have the tabernacle, the Mishkan, the portable temple in the desert, the focus of Vayikra is about maintaining the divine presence in our midst. Vayikra's starting point is the apocalyptic image of God's glory filling the Mishkan and beckoning to Moses from this place. We don't typically speak about apocalypse in Jewish life, but the Greek word apocalypsis means revelation in the sense of the lifting of a veil. And so just as Vayikra, as Leviticus begins, there is a reaching out as God, the Shekhinah, the Holy Presence, calls out lovingly to Moses. And this is the first time that Moses is allowed to enter the tabernacle, to be in God's midst, clearly evoking the image of a bride and a groom, or two lovers approaching each other for the first time, lifting the veil so that they may behold each other and gaze into each other's eyes. The book of Leviticus displays its primary objective in its opening verse. This is the exploration of this newfound intimacy between God and the Jewish people. As for the sacrifices that are mostly associated with Leviticus, well, the basic principle of sacrificial offering, korban, which is the main subject of Vayikra, korban is rooted in the word karov, which means to come close, to be intimate. And therefore sacrificial offering is the route to coming close, to being intimate with God. The korban represents our opportunity to heal our damaged relationship with God, to come close, to rekindle that which has been clouded really by our own distraction. I know that at a time, especially like now, the idea, the concept of getting close almost to anyone might seem somewhat preposterous. But my hope for you and for all of us in this period is that this crazy pandemic and distance which we are imposing voluntarily on ourselves, something which none of us invited but realize is really the only option. My hope is that this distance may end up giving us the gift of moments of stillness when we have the opportunity to rekindle our relationships, and especially our relationship with ourselves. The opportunity to go deeper into ourselves than we usually do, ultimately arriving at a place where we find holiness, where we find divinity inside of ourselves, a place where we find God's holy spark. And then once we've reached this place, we also begin to look for ways in which to give of ourselves. And is this not in English what the word sacrifice also means? We discover in Vayikra that gift giving is a profoundly human activity. The very idea that human beings can give a gift to God which is pleasing, which is meaningful, is a foundational aspect of the book of Genesis, which we encountered with Cain and Abel and Noah and Abraham. So by the time we reach Leviticus, it comes as no surprise to us that this mode of interaction is available to us. And while Vayikra does have sin offering as an important theme, what is striking is that the tamid, the constant, the ordinary, daily offering, that emerges as an even more important theme than the sin offering. This modest daily offering is the core. It is what my dear teacher, Rabbi Nehemiah Poland, describes as the centrifugal force that holds the entire system together. The daily gift giving, the continuity, the consistency, the keeping the relationship on track, at times even when there are no sins to assuage, the continuous checking in. It's a reminder to us that we don't only need to return to those whom we love in times of need and distress, but rather we seek ways to be a constant presence in each other's lives. Vayikra is about more than just blood and guts and gore and entrails and sinews. It's about more than intentional sins and unintentional sins. Rabbi Poland says it is about the very embodiment of spirituality and intimacy with God. It is our attempt to be close to a relational God, a God who needs the world, who needs and wants us to be close. It is about reaching, it is about touching, it is about how to engage in a relationship. It is about the necessary steps, the consistency, the regularity required to show that when we tell someone we love them, we really mean it. It sends us the message that, similar almost to an archaeological mound, a tell where one civilization has constructed on top of the one before it, that a relationship can be built on top of a fractured past. Relationships are built and they are rebuilt when we both work hard enough to make it happen. As many of us will know by now, relationships renewed after a break, after a rupture, have the opportunity to become stronger and deeper and even more meaningful than untested relationships do. For better or for worse, the most radiant of lights is the light that emerges after darkness. So God wants relationship. God wants our intimacy, the chance to begin again, despite our repeatedly having missed the mark, is the greatest redemption that is offered to us as we leave Egypt, Mitzrayim, the Metzarim, the narrow places, which so often of our own making, time and time again. Shabbat Shalom to you and all of your loved ones. I hope that you have a very good week ahead.